With Roman Reigns being your new World Heavyweight Champion, there was a lot of unknown as to what we could get next with Roman carrying the World Heavyweight Championship. So, in this video, we're going to be talking all about Roman Reigns and the World Heavyweight Championship and what we could get with Roman carrying this title. Real quickly, before we get too far ahead in the video, I want to say that if you are a WWE fan, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. That is all we post is WWE related content. So if you are a WWE fan, again, consider subscribing. It's free. You can always change your mind later. So I'm not going to lie to you. When Roman initially came out at WrestleMania 42 to his original Tribal Chief theme, I got chills a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Because that theme to me is special. Because that felt like such a special moment in time for WWE. Because things were in such a weird spot with Vince leaving, Triple H coming in, and Roman being at the top of the mountain in the WWE. And it was so special because it was so good. And we had people comparing it to the Attitude Era. And people even believing that that point in time was better than the Attitude Era. And that's a different discussion for a different day because things were in such a good place when Roman was carrying that title, using that original Tribal Chief theme. WWE was at an all time high. And then obviously things happened. TKO came in, and we've been on a very, very downhill slope ever since. And we do have somewhat of an idea of what Roman plans on doing with the World Heavyweight Championship. We got a little segment on Monday Night Raw to kind of close out the Raw after Mania where we saw him coming out with Jimmy and Jey Uso. And it was starting to kind of feel like what we got at the very beginning of the Bloodline storyline, which was Roman telling the Usos to fall in line now that he has the title again. And then we saw Jacob Fatu come out, and looks like we're going to be getting a match between Roman and Jacob, which I am all on board for. And it does kind of feel like WWE is going to lean heavily into the Bloodline storyline with Roman carrying the World Heavyweight Championship right now. Because I feel like you can try to create somewhat of an interesting story here. You could have Roman carrying the title and wanting to test the rest of the Bloodline members. And I'm not talking just Jimmy and Jay. I'm talking about someone like Jacob Fatu, talking about Solo and the MFTs maybe. But basically having Roman test these guys to see if they are worthy to be the next tribal chief. Roman has said a lot about WWE failing to make new superstars. So maybe they can try to spin this storyline into something along those lines as well. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little on the fence about wanting to do that because we've already seen Roman Reigns in the Bloodline before. And yes, it was very, very good. And there are people that would be on board to see that again because it was so good. But I also want to see Roman kind of branch out a little bit. And I think we will inevitably get there at some point because let's not forget, there was one man who called out Roman Reigns after WrestleMania, and that was Obafemi. And with the way Obafemi is going right now, I would expect Roman and Oba to have a match at some point for that World Heavyweight Championship. So maybe Roman versus Oba is kind of WWE's end game with this version of the Bloodline storyline. Maybe we do end up getting Roman kind of testing the rest of the Bloodline members, testing guys like Solo Sikoa, even though he's already kind of been tested before, but testing other members of MFT, testing guys like Tamatonga, Tongaloa, Talatanga, even JC Mateo for whatever reason, if they really wanted to throw that out there. Or maybe we could see them spin Roman, Jimmy, and Jay possibly trying to bring in Jacob Fatu into the Bloodline and kind of taking over the Solo character of the original Bloodline. And I'm not necessarily sure that that would work given the position that Jacob Fatu is in right now, because I feel like he's in a pretty good spot. I think he could be better, and maybe putting him in the Bloodline group like that maybe could help elevate him to an even higher level, kind of similar to what it did for Solo Sikoa, where Solo was kind of brought in and didn't really do a whole lot and was all of a sudden given a mega push. So maybe we see something like that with Jacob Fatu joining Roman, Jimmy, and Jay, if Jimmy and Jay even stay with Roman this time. Because again, you would think that Jimmy and Jay learned their lesson from the last time Roman was telling them to fall in line and they weren't going to join Roman this time, but it's pro wrestling. Anything can happen at this point. And I did make a video somewhat recently talking about the possibility of the OG bloodline forming once again. And I talked about in the build to WrestleMania 42, we saw Jimmy and Jay kind of start talking like the heels a little bit to CM Punk in that one promo, where we saw Jay start using a little more aggression, a little more of that right hand man Jay Uso started coming out. Coincidentally, at the same time, we saw Sami Zayn also starting to make his way into the heel character of Sami Zayn that we have now. So it could just be one big coincidence that all of these guys right now are kind of acting the same way, and they were all at one point in time members of the original bloodline. So maybe that's a way that they want to take this story. I don't really know what they all have in mind for Roman carrying this title because again, I don't necessarily know how long I see Roman carrying the title for. And there is a lot of talk about Roman's availability. And obviously, with him being a part-timer at this point, the rumor is that he is going to be booked on a consistent basis at least through summertime. But as for what we're going to get throughout the course of that summer, is still yet to be determined, obviously. And again, I think you can create some interesting story, whether it is with the bloodline or whether it is with just Jacob Fatu or whether it's someone completely out of the bloodline picture. Honestly, with the way WWE has been kind of telling their stories as of late, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Roman came out to cut another promo and it was completely different from what he was just talking about. So we are still very, very early. So obviously, we are still very, very early into this Roman Reigns title reign, but the early signs is that we are going to be heavily back in the bloodline, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing in my opinion. But what my biggest worry is that WWE is going to try to completely recreate the bloodline storyline, and I just don't think you're going to be able to. Because again, that was such a special moment in time where WWE was at its peak, in my opinion. And given the changes that were taking place with Vince McMahon leaving, Triple H coming in, things were in such a weird place. And the Bloodline storyline really did kind of stabilize things when it kind of felt like things might have been crumbling down around WWE. But it really did feel like the Bloodline stabilized everything, and Roman being the top guy, and eventually having his feud with Cody Rhodes, and Cody finishing his story. And WrestleMania 40 is still one of the best WrestleManias of all time. And you can argue recency bias for sure, but I don't think we're ever going to get that level of cinema that we got with that main event. I don't think you're going to see that anytime soon. And I'm also worried that they are going to try to recreate the Bloodline storyline because this isn't just Triple H calling the shots anymore. TKO is heavily involved, as we are well aware by now. And there's rumors going around about just how little of creative control Triple H really has. And TKO is really taking control of these storylines. And I am not necessarily going to go all on board with that rumor because I don't really think that I see TKO being that invested in WWE that they are controlling almost every storyline, leaving Triple H to just kind of sit there. So I kind of look at this one of two ways. The one being if Triple H is calling the shots with this storyline, things could be good. However, if TKO decides to intervene like we saw them do all the road to WrestleMania, things could go south very, very fast. So I am genuinely curious as to what your guys' thoughts on Roman Reigns being the new World Heavyweight Champion are and what you want to see while he's holding the title? Do you want to see a kind of recreation of the Bloodline storyline, or do you want to see Roman doing something else and bringing in new faces, bringing in new feuds and stuff like that? And again, for me, this is basically all coming off of Roman using his original Tribal Chief theme, because again, that song, that theme, just it speaks to when WWE was on an absolute roll. So as always, let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. And while you're down there, swing by the description and click the Linktree link. That is the only link in the description for a reason. That is because it'll take you to all of the social media platforms for this channel. I do strongly suggest going and checking out our X page. Besides YouTube, I am most active over on X. We do updates for Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and the PLEs. And we are also over on Instagram and TikTok as well. Over there, you can expect clips from these videos, and it's just another place for me to post when I do upload a video on here to YouTube. So if you do enjoy these videos and you're looking for some extra content, again, Linktree link in the description. It'll take you to wherever you want to go. So with all that said and done, that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. Again, both are free. Both really help out the channel a lot. And of course, if you have made it to this point of the video, I want to say thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch these videos here, because it genuinely does mean the world to me. And as always, stay tuned for more WWE content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.